Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
That's what's called a tell. Yeah, I mean, there's so many freaking red flags here. You know, I interviewed Sam over the summer.
Yeah, I want
for
to
like
talk
a long,
about.
yeah, for like a long time, right? Like it was a little bit. I don't know if you watched the interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin yesterday at
Yeah, I
the New York
did.
Times. Yeah, so it's a little bit like that, where like he just keeps talking, and you're like, do you have somewhere to be? Do you need to do you need to be running? Don't you? You're supposed to be running like $1 billion. Like we talked for like an hour and 17 minutes. Like it was pretty wild, and he's just this guy where I don't know. It was really weird, man. He was supposedly one of the 100 wealthiest people in the world last year, according to Bloomberg. And you sit with him, and he's a 30-year-old guy. He went to MIT, so he's like quantitatively bright, like obviously, I guess, or that's the assumption. But he's a kid, you know, and they gave him all this money, and he seems to have bluffed his way into like this fortune that he almost got away with. Like he was going around Capitol Hill throwing money left and right, you know, threw a shitload of money at the Democrats. His cohort threw a shitload of money at the Republicans. And when we were on Capitol Hill this summer, every room we walked into, they were like, ooh, I'm not sure we can do anything. SBF was here before. I mean, it was crazy, man. It's nuts stuff.
When you interviewed him though, like, I mean, how did he respond to? I mean, did you like push back or critique, like, you know, the ideology of crypto? Like, what were his defenses of cryptocurrency as this revolutionary new technology that will liberate markets or investors?
Yeah. So he's not one of those laser eyed. He's not a Bitcoin maxi. He presents himself like his role. The role he's playing is like sweet California kid from good family who is like the sweet face of crypto, this completely unregulated, totally sketchy, you know, area. And he's going to be the good guy, and you can trust him, and, you know, like innovation will be kept at home, even though it's still in the Bahamas, but whatever. So it's not so much like asking him about the ideology. It's more, I was kept asking him, like, what does this shit do? Like, what does it do? Give me an example of what it does. And it was really wild, man. Like he just he can't answer the question. He goes back to basically payments. He's like, it's going to be a payments vehicle, which is ridiculous because no one uses crypto for payments. I actually asked him to give me like a hard number, like, okay, how much is actually used for payments? Because I found a number online from a few years ago. And he said like 4 billion, which seemed like a wag, like a wild ass guess. But even if you gave that number credibility, that's like what, like 0.4% of Bitcoin, of crypto's market cap at the time. Like it's nothing. It's a trivial number. People are not using this for currency because it doesn't work as currency because it's not a fucking currency. So he's trying to like just sort of bide time and like sort of like explain why this isn't just a totally shady operation. But there's no good answer to what crypto does because crypto doesn't do anything.
Like, have you? So you mentioned he was just interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times annual Most Evil People in the World conference, their deal book seminar, and you know, like, you know, it was him saying like, you know, I'm sorry, I screwed up, but I didn't consciously defraud anyone. Like, have you been following any of SBF's latest like media interviews and hits? Because I mean, apparently his lawyers are telling him to not go on television, but he seems to have some sort of duty. I mean, like you could look at it like, oh, he's trying to put himself in jail right now, or is this part of like a more calculated PR campaign on his behalf?
No, I wouldn't describe much like I wouldn't overthink it. You know, in fraud, they talk about the fraud triangle, which is like the 3 essential components of any fraud. So it's need. You have to have the need to commit that fraud, which can be like greed, but can also be like you make a mistake. Like, you know, we hear about these like rogue traders on a desk. You know, they're selling like convertible bonds in Thailand or something, and they like make a bad trade and they, you know, get behind, but they don't want to admit it. And so they gamble some more and they get further behind. And then all of a sudden, like, they're arrested because they lost, you know, $10 billion on a desk that wasn't supposed to cover a fraction of that. So need is a part of it. And that might be what happened with Sam. Like he might have just like screwed up and gotten behind. Opportunity is the second part. He obviously had the opportunity to commit fraud. I mean, obviously crypto's like it's a paradise of opportunity to commit fraud. And then the last part, the part that we're seeing right now is rationalization. You have to rationalize your behavior because very few people actually are comfortable like admitting that they did a bad thing and they were bad people and all that stuff. It's more like, no. let me explain. I made some mistakes, blah, 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 blah. So that's what that was for an hour and however many minutes yesterday. It was like him rationalizing and trying to like explain why he hadn't defrauded people. Except the problem was he had. So
now, prior to like the FTX implosion and the like cratering of a lot of crypto over the last couple of months or so, the defenders of crypto would always say like the power of crypto is in that it is decentralized and free from like the dead hand of state and regulation, like in market distorting effects like that. Well, now that it's cratered, I've been seeing a lot of the same people sort of ask, hey, where was the regulation on this? Or like, like the state needs to intervene and, I don't know, either make us whole again or make it so this doesn't happen again.
Oh, yeah. And not only that, but they're like, where were the regulators before? Gary Gensler, like, where was he? He should have been all over this. And you're like, it's so, I mean, it'd be funny if it wasn't so sad. I guess it is kind of funny, but they're so hypocritical. I mean, they're going around like literally, 2 months ago, they're like, the SEC needs to stay off our backs. Like, these aren't securities. Which ones are securities? We can't tell. They wrote this secret letter. There's like this secret letter from March from eight Congress people, Democrats and Republicans, that was apparently addressed to Gensler that was basically like lay off crypto. This is like corruption, man. This is some serious level corruption. We're talking like, I think we're into probably hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's been funneled into the parties at this point. I mean, the money we know about from Sam and his cohorts alone is getting you to like 80 or 90 million. So then you add in the rest of the industry. I mean, it's just gross, dude. And there's not like, these are zero sum games economically. They are. Like, I don't know how to explain it more clearly than that. These are not adding value to anything. The only way that you win in crypto is by someone else losing. These are strictly competitive. For you to win, someone else has to lose. Now, the winners and losers are not evenly distributed. Like, the winners are the insiders, are the venture capitalist firms, are the people that run the exchanges, are the guys that issue the tokens, right? And there are always people behind these things. Code does not fall from the sky. Code is written by people. And these guys are doing securities fraud. That's what they're doing. And lots of other fraud too. But like, it drives me nuts because regulators were going to go like, oh, these are new digital assets. Oh, let's bring them into the banking system. And if that had happened, and they were damn near close, if that had happened, you could have had a subprime 2.0 from crypto. You absolutely could have. And then everyone's affected. And then even if you don't own crypto, your pension is hurt. It's happened already in Ontario. The teachers' pension fund invested in frickin' Celsius and like lost a bunch of money. So it could have gotten really bad, man, and it's gross. Sorry, I'm ranting.
No. The detail that you shared earlier about FTX getting advertisements placed on MLB umpires' uniforms is, I think, really telling here. If you want to talk about buying your own regulators, but yeah, like
it's the only
this guy
time.
and his money